Hi, it's Pastor Gordon with today's word from the Word about a pastor, a president, and a pardon. I want to tell you about Pastor Peter Miller. He came to America in 1730, born 1709, but that's not the trip I want to tell you about. I don't even want to tell you how he started with the German Reformed Church, but then swung over to Seventh-day Baptist, had a church right up north of Lancaster, Pennsylvania, in good old Ephrata. Got into some trouble for changing there. I don't want to tell you about how educated he was, what a great preacher he was, or how Thomas Jefferson commissioned him to translate the Declaration of Independence into 7 different languages. That's not what I want to tell you today. I want to tell you about a 60-mile hike that Pastor Peter Miller took through the snow. He walked from Lancaster, PA, Ephrata, all the way to Valley Forge. You've seen the pictures of General Washington at Valley Forge in the snow, to ask for the pardon of one Michael Whitman. Now, Michael Whitman had owned some hotels in the Lancaster area, and he was overheard just trashing the Americans and just bragging about all that he would do if he was part of that war. He didn't know there were American spies in that hotel, and when word got out, he escaped through the window, hid out in a church for 3 days, but cold and hungry, he finally ran to the British and asked for mercy and offered to sell information to them. Well, the British ended up casting him away, and he got recaptured, taken to General Washington, who found him guilty of treason and sentenced him to hang. But Pastor Peter Miller hiked 60 miles to ask General Washington for a pardon, for forgiveness. And when he got there, General Washington said, "I'm sorry, Pastor, your prayers for your friend cannot be answered." And Pastor Peter said, "Friend? Friend? He's no friend of mine. Why, he's the worst enemy I have. He has slapped me, punched me, tripped me. He has spit on me publicly. I have no worse enemy than Michael Whitman." And Washington said, "I don't understand. This puts the matter in a whole different light. You would forgive your worst enemy?" And because of that, General Washington wrote a pardon. Well, now Pastor Peter had another job, because he was to be executed that day, and he walked through the snow 15 more miles to a town of Westchester, just a few miles from here, through the snow. And when he got there, they were carrying the person of Michael Whitman up to the gallows to put that rope around his neck. Michael Whitman looked out at the crowd that had gathered to witness this hanging. He spotted that pastor and said, "Oh, there he is, oh, Pastor Peter. You've come to get your vengeance. You've come to see me hung this day, have you?" And Pastor Peter said, "No, I've come to give you forgiveness and a pardon." No one in the crowd could believe it. But they took the noose off of his head. He walked down, and the two embraced, became firm friends according to reports, and walked that day from Westchester all the way back to Lancaster, another 30 miles. That's a great story of a pardon and a pastor and a future president. Oh. So who are you angry at today? Who is it that you're so mad at you would rather see them hung or die rather than extend forgiveness? Let's learn from the example of Pastor Peter Miller and for the grace that was extended through future President George Washington. That's today's word from the Word. Forgiveness. We pray it in the Lord's Prayer, don't we? Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Oh, that's a good word. And there'll be more tomorrow. God bless.